Our world may look a little different right now, but the care team at Weill Cornell Medicine remains steadfast in caring for you. Our digital health tools allow you to take control of your health wherever you are, so you can keep in touch with your physicians and stay up to date on important healthcare screenings and preventative care. It's time to prioritize you. Don't delay the care you need. Schedule today.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Chidi Parikh, the Executive Director of Integrative Health and Wellbeing at Weill Cornell Medicine, New York Presbyterian Hospital. I'm so excited to talk about my favorite topic, food as medicine. There's an ancient Ayurvedic proverb that says, if diet is wrong, medicine is of no use, and if diet is correct, medicine is of no need. That is particularly true when it comes to mental health. Most people think of diet as something you focus on when you're trying to lose some weight or treating conditions such as obesity or diabetes, but we often don't think about food as having much to do when it comes to our brain health or our mood. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. There is a tremendous amount of research that has shown a direct link between what we eat and how we feel. In fact, our diet is our main ally in not only treating conditions such as depression, anxiety, but also preventing them in the first place. And we all know that prevention is always better than the cure. So no wonder that there is a whole new field called nutritional psychiatry that is entirely focused on this topic. Based on the latest research that has come out, and especially in the last decade or so, the Academy of Nutritional Psychiatry has put together their top 5 diet recommendations that I would love to share with you. Number 1 recommendation, following a traditional diet pattern, such as Mediterranean, Norwegian, Japanese. So what do these traditional diets have in common? One main thing is they tend to be full of natural whole foods and much less on the processed foods. So when you encourage diets that are more natural, that include lots of fruits, vegetables, whole foods, they tend to lower inflammation. Versus our standard American diet, or what I like to call it as sad diet or very sad diet, unfortunately is full of processed foods that cause increased amounts of inflammation. That's the reason why diets such as Mediterranean diet are really the ideal diet for us, especially given our climate. And also they're much easier to follow because most of those foods eaten in the Mediterranean climate are easily available in our local grocery stores. The recent research on Mediterranean diet says that it's effective in not only helping us prevent different conditions such as heart disease, cancers, but even things like Alzheimer's. So to summarize, traditional diet patterns such as Mediterranean diet tend to be very anti-inflammatory, and research has shown that they are very helpful in preventing many conditions and optimizing our brain health and even our heart health. So the next recommendation, that one focuses on increasing consumption of fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Again, all of these foods tend to be one of the main components of diets such as the Mediterranean diet. So this comes as no surprise. So again, one thing common with all of these foods is that they are plant-based. They're made by Mother Nature, not by a factory. Because they're plant-based, they're also extremely rich in fiber. So fiber tends to be the unsung hero when it comes to the nutrition story. And we'll talk more about that. But besides being high in fiber, another thing all of these food groups have in common is they're very high in one particular vitamin called folate, or folic acid as you might know it. This particular B vitamin has been very much linked with symptoms of depression. Researchers have found that people who are already on antidepressants but often don't respond well tend to have very low folate levels in the fluid surrounding their brain and in their blood. So treatment with high-dose folate, especially methylfolate, is very beneficial in treating depression, especially treatment-resistant depression. So to summarize, Increased consumptions for fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds are very important because they're high in fiber, but they're also very high in important vitamins such as folate. The third one on the list, increasing the consumption of omega-rich fatty acids. Our brain is made up of fat, so no surprise there that we need healthy fats in our diet, especially the omega-3 fatty acids. The reason why they're such good fats is because they fight inflammation. And we know that inflammation is often the root cause of so many diseases that we see these days, especially linked to mental health. That is the reason why increasing the amount of omega-3 fats helps us reduce inflammation in our brain and in our body. And great sources of omega-3 fats tend to be fatty fish, especially smaller fish such as sardines, mackerel, and even salmon. But don't worry, if eating fish is not your cup of tea, don't worry, there are other options such as flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. Simply including a teaspoon of flax seeds in your morning smoothie or making a chia seed pudding, or just eating 4 or 5 walnuts a day can easily give you your omega-3 fix for the day. So to summarize, the omega-3 fats are very important for brain health because they fight inflammation in the brain and in the body. And they are really great sources, which include fatty fish, but also plant-based options such as flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. So make sure you get your daily dose of omega-3 fatty acids. The fourth one, very important one, is limiting the intake of processed foods, fast foods, commercially baked goods, and sweets. So what is it about processed foods that is so bad for us? The reason why processed foods are bad is because, again, they increase inflammation. And there are 3 specific ingredients that I always bring up with my patients when I'm taking a closer look at their diet. These 3 ingredients tend to be high fructose corn syrup, trans fats, artificial food colors, and also preservatives. Especially certain types of food colors and preservatives. A recent study in England actually they found that artificial colors and one particular preservative called sodium benzoate was actually associated with significantly increased hyperactivity in children. Not only children, but I've seen many other studies that say that artificial colors can increase ADHD type of symptoms even in adults. So after the study was published along many others that show the same thing, the EU actually decided to put a warning label on any foods that have these ingredients. Not only that, there are many artificial colors that are used commonly in foods in America are actually banned in Europe. For instance, M&Ms in Europe are colored with natural colors, but in America, they're colored using artificial ingredients. So this is a particularly important topic when it comes to addressing symptoms of ADHD, whether it's in children or adults. So please make sure that you're significantly reducing your consumption of processed foods, fast foods that have these 3 ingredients that significantly increase inflammation. Next one on the list, the last one, but definitely not the least, being mindful of your gut bacteria. So you must be wondering, what on earth do bacteria in the gut have anything to do with my brain? Well, it turns out that 90% of serotonin, the happy hormone, is actually made in the gut by these trillions of bacteria. And we know that low levels of serotonin play a significant role in symptoms of depression and anxiety. And that is the reason that most of the medications we use nowadays to treat depression or anxiety tend to be a group of medications called SSRIs. And the way they work is by increasing the amount of serotonin in the brain. But like I mentioned, that's only 10% of the picture. So what about the other 90% of serotonin that is made in the gut? Shouldn't we be paying more attention to it? Absolutely. And that's what a lot of recent research studies have come out to prove, that we have to pay attention to these gut bacteria, and they play a much bigger role in our mental health than we previously imagined. So scientists are working to figure out which particular strains of probiotic or good bacteria play a role in a variety of mental health conditions, whether it's depression or anxiety. And they've also found that when someone has more inflammatory or bad bacteria, they tend to have a negative impact on mood and even our cognition. One interesting study I came across recently was a study that took bacteria from depressed human beings and transferred them into mice. And they found that the mice started developing symptoms of depression. Now, don't ask me how you know if a mouse is depressed, but it's fascinating to think that these bacteria in the gut are causing depression. And when you transfer them into another organism, you still have that effect of depression sort of living on. This is just the beginning. There was another study that was really well received recently, was looking at addressing symptoms of anxiety and depression postpartum. And this study gave new moms probiotics for 6 months postpartum. And they found that the probiotic therapy significantly reduced the incidence of postpartum depression and anxiety. And most of these studies that are done looking to treat depression with probiotics are usually done with a variety of different probiotics or bacteria that are often in the family of bacteria called lactobacillus or bifidobacterium. You might have heard lactobacillus because that is commonly found in fermented foods or things like yogurt. So as you can see, that probiotic therapy holds a lot of promise in optimizing mental health. So not only do these gut bacteria play a role in depression and anxiety, they can even affect our personality. So this very interesting study out of Korea looked at association between personality traits and the type of bacteria that live in our gut. What they found was certain bad bacteria that found in the gut led to more neurotic and less conscientious type of personality in human beings. That's just the beginning. There's another study out of Oxford that found that people who tend to be more sociable, the life of the party type of people, they tend to have a very diverse gut microbiome with different types of bacteria. So it sounds like a very diverse amount of bacteria in our gut is really the key to happiness, right? So how do we make that happen? Well, when I talk about probiotic and the promise it holds, the first question my patients ask me is, Doc, just tell me which probiotic to take and I'll take it. I wish it was that simple. We have the tendency to try to treat everything with a pill, but it's not always that straightforward, especially not when it comes to probiotics, because there's a difference between medications or vitamins or supplements and probiotics, because these are not chemicals. These are living, breathing organisms, right? So I can take a probiotic and it will certainly do me good to have extra load of good bacteria in my gut. But that is only half of the story. Because in order to reap the full benefits of having these good bacteria, we have to make sure they actually survive in the gut and they continue to grow and proliferate over time. These bacteria are like guests in our house. We have to treat them well. And first of all, we have to feed them. Turns out the good bacteria in our gut love to eat fiber. That is why a diet that is full of fruits, vegetables, whole grain, legumes, nuts, and seeds sounds familiar, right? This tends to be so good for us because it is very high in fiber and that feeds the good bacteria in the gut. So it's always good to take probiotics, but don't forget the other half of the story. A diet that is full of fiber, diverse fiber, is going to continue to feed the good bacteria that you're taking in. We often focus on proteins, fats, and carbs in our diet. I encourage you to think about probiotic-rich foods, prebiotic-rich foods, which basically means fiber-rich foods, and make sure that they become a permanent part of your diet. So let me summarize. The 3 things that I always focus on when I see my patients when we're focusing on optimizing mental health and brain health. First thing, food is medicine. So I take a very close look at their diet. And we start by shifting our diet to more of a plant-based or a pescatarian type of diet that is very high in fiber and includes a lot of diversity when it comes to fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds on a regular basis, and heart-healthy fats and brain-healthy fats, such as omega-3s that can come from nuts or seeds or healthy fish. The second thing I do is do a blood test to look at the levels of certain vitamins that we talked about are important, such as folate, but I also look at something like B12 and vitamin D. Another thing we talked about is levels of inflammation. So I check inflammation markers in the blood, such as C-reactive protein or homocysteine, and I will even check omega-3 levels in the blood. That information helps me guide the diet and customize it to each patient that I see, and if they need any supplements, to figure out the right dose and type of supplements they would benefit from. And last but not least, there are times for some patients, I will actually do a gut microbiome test. What that entails is looking at the stool to understand what type of bacteria are in someone's gut. How many of the good guys do you have, and how many of the bad ones? And by addressing that balance and harmony between good and bad bacteria, we can certainly optimize brain health. And as the research is showing, that focusing on gut health through optimizing our diet is really the key to optimizing our brain health and mental health. I hope this information was helpful. Thank you so much for your time.